She placed an ad in a Norwegian newspaper in 1906, one paragraph, handwritten by a widow on a farm in Indiana. Personal, comely widow who owns a large farm in one of the finest districts in LaPorte County, Indiana, desires to make the acquaintance of a gentleman equally well provided with the view to joining fortunes. No replies by letter considered unless the sender is willing to follow answer with a personal visit. Triflers need not apply. FBI. Men read it. Men wrote back. Men packed their savings, sold everything they owned, and came to Indiana. None of them left. Her name was Belle Gunness, and she is probably the most prolific female serial killer in American history. The number of people she killed is still disputed. What isn't disputed, she got away with it. This is the Belle Gunness file. Belle Gunness was born Brynhild Paulsdottir Storseth in Selbu, Norway, on November 11, 1859. She came to America in 1881, settled in Chicago, married a Norwegian man named Mads Sorensen. They ran a confectionery store. Then the store burned down. They collected on the insurance. Mads Sorensen died in 1900. The date of his death happened to be the only day on which both his life insurance policies overlapped. Belle collected on both. Total, $5,000. 2 insurance payouts from 2 fires and 1 dead husband. Nobody looked hard enough. Newly flush with cash, she bought a 48-acre farm in LaPorte, Indiana. She was described by neighbors as a rugged woman, solidly built, around 200 pounds, and reportedly strong enough to lift a 300-pound piano by herself. She was not the kind of woman men looked past. She was the kind of woman men underestimated. In April 1902, she married Peter Gunness. The following week, while Peter was out of the house, his infant daughter died in Belle's care. Peter died 8 months later. Belle explained that he'd reached for something on a high shelf and a meat grinder fell on him, smashing his skull. The coroner believed Peter had been murdered. The body showed symptoms of strychnine poisoning and ordered an inquest. Belle played a convincing widow in mourning. No hard evidence. She walked away free and collected on the life insurance policy. Third payout. Third convenient death. Still no charges. After Peter died, she started writing letters. Gunness posted personal ads in regional Norwegian language newspapers, targeting lonely Norwegian bachelors, many of whom were completely cut off from their families. She beguiled them with promises of down-home Norwegian cooking and painted a very seductive portrait of the kind of life they'd enjoy. The letters were warmer than the ads. She wrote about how beautiful LaPorte was in spring, how the two of them could share stories about Norway over dinner, how she had a lovely farm and needed a strong partner to help run it. She had 4 rules for the men who responded. Sell everything you own. Bring only cash. Sew it into your underwear for safety. Don't tell anybody. This is a secret between the two of us. Think about those 4 rules for a second. She made them liquidate their assets so there was no trace. She made them bring cash so there was no bank record. She made them hide it so nobody knew they had it. And she made them keep the visit secret so when they disappeared, nobody knew where to start looking. That's not romance. That's a system. Before we go further, drop a number in the comments. 1 if you think you would have seen through her. 2 if you think the letters would have been convincing. Because most people say 1. Most people are wrong.
Mrs. Gunness received men visitors all the time, one of her farmhands later told the New York Tribune. A different man came nearly every week to stay at the house. She introduced them as cousins from Kansas, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and Chicago. She was always careful to make the children stay away from her cousins. The cousins never stayed long. They were never seen leaving either. Belle's method was businesslike. Having lured her victims to her remote property, she would give them a meal and a strychnine-dosed cup of coffee, then often finish the job by bludgeoning her comatose victim. As soon as she got their money, she would clobber them over the head with a hammer or hatchet to make sure they were dead. Then she would take them into her basement and cut them into parts, cut off their heads, their arms, and their legs, and put them in gunny sacks until time for burial. Neighbors assumed she was burying sacks of garbage, common rural trash disposal at the time. Mixed in with Belle's tin cans and chicken guts were other things. She got an average of about $3,000 per person, total at least $50,000. In today's money, that's probably over $1 million. She wasn't a killer driven by rage or obsession. She was running a business. The product was loneliness. The payment was cash. The disposal was the hog pen.
In 1906, Belle connected with Andrew Helgillian. He found her ad in the Minneapolis Day. They began exchanging romantic letters. She wrote to him, "We shall be so happy once you get here. My heart beats in wild rapture for you, my Andrew. I love you. Come prepared to stay forever." Andrew came prepared to stay forever. Andrew Helgillian moved to LaPorte, Indiana on January 3, 1908. He was never heard from again. His brother Osley started writing to Belle asking where Andrew was. Belle wrote back with excuses. Osley wasn't satisfied. He started making noises about coming to LaPorte himself. That's when things changed. Gunness fired her farmhand Ray Lamphere in February 1908 and began publicly alleging he was threatening to burn down her house with her children inside. The truth seems to have been that Osley Helgillian was proposing to come to LaPorte to search the farm. Lamphere was a witness to Andrew's murder and was threatening to reveal what he knew. She needed to move fast. On April 28, 1908, the Gunness farmhouse burned to the ground. In the ruins, authorities found the bodies of a headless adult woman and her 3 children. Belle Gunness was declared dead, except when doctors measured the remains, even making allowances for the missing neck and head. They agreed the victim stood no more than 5'3" and weighed around 150 pounds. Belle was around 6 feet tall and 200 pounds. An examination of the stomach contents revealed traces of a lethal dose of strychnine. The woman in the basement wasn't Belle. It was Belle's last victim, killed, decapitated, and left in the basement as a decoy so Belle could walk out of LaPorte with her money and disappear. Further investigation unearthed the partial remains of at least 11 additional people on the property. More kept coming. Thousands of people flocked to LaPorte to watch the digging. Boys skipped school and came on bicycles. People arrived in automobiles and interurban trains. The farm became a tourist attraction. Belle was gone. Nobody has ever confirmed her death. Reported sightings of Gunness in the Chicago area continued long after she was declared dead. In 2008, DNA tests were performed on the headless corpse in an attempt to compare DNA against a sample she had sent to one of her victims. Due to its age, the sample couldn't be properly tested. In 1931, a woman named Esther Carlson, who had an uncanny physical resemblance to Belle, died in Los Angeles while awaiting trial on charges she had poisoned a man for his money. Carlson was about the same age Belle would have been. She killed with Belle's exact method. There was no record of her existence before 1908, the same year Belle disappeared. Forensic anthropologist Stephen Naraki and graduate students from the University of Indianapolis exhumed Belle's grave in 2007. DNA samples from an envelope she had sent to one of her suitors proved too degraded to be useful. No confirmation, no closure. The brother of one of Belle's victims had warned her he might come to the farm shortly to investigate his brother's disappearance. According to her farmhand, Lamphere, who confessed from prison, this impending visit motivated Gunness to destroy her house, fake her death, and flee. She knew the net was closing. She cut her own way out. The final count depends on who you ask. Belle Gunness likely killed between 25 and 30 people, including women and children. Some researchers say 40. A memorial in LaPorte's Pine Lake Cemetery honors her unknown victims. Several are buried at nearby Patton Cemetery, including Andrew Helgillian, Peter Gunness, and Ginny Olson. Andrew came prepared to stay forever. He did. Belle told every single man who wrote her the same thing: come alone, bring your money, don't tell anyone where you're going. And they listened, every one of them. The file on Belle Gunness was opened in 1908. It was never formally closed because she was never formally confirmed dead. Which means the last thing law enforcement officially knows about Belle Gunness is nothing. Here's the question nobody agrees on. Do you think Belle Gunness escaped and lived out her life as Esther Carlson in California? Or do you think she actually died in that fire? Drop your theory below. I've read every account and I still can't decide. And if you want the files that never got closed, the Unsealed History channel is right there. The next one is already coming.